Life will never run out of reasons to test you. There will always be criticism waiting at the corner, doubt hiding behind opportunity, and voices eager to tell you why your dreams are too big, too risky, or simply impossible. The world can be loud, but the greatest battle is never outside of you. It is inside your own mind. Every day you are making a choice. You are deciding which thoughts deserve your attention, which opinions deserve your energy, and which fears deserve a seat at your table. Most people never realize that negativity survives because it is constantly invited in. It grows every time you replay an insult, every time you compare your journey to someone else's, and every time you allow temporary disappointment to become a permanent identity. But imagine waking up one morning with a mind so disciplined that negativity knocks on the door and finds no one willing to answer. Imagine carrying a peace that cannot be stolen by criticism, failure, rejection, or the opinions of strangers. That kind of strength is not a gift reserved for a lucky few. It is a decision. It is a habit. It is a way of thinking that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary individuals. The truth is that your mind is the most valuable place you will ever own. If you allow every negative word to live there, rent-free, you will eventually forget what hope sounds like. You will forget what confidence feels like. And without realizing it, you will begin building your future with the bricks of fear instead of the stones of courage. That is why protecting your mind is not selfish. It is necessary. Your peace is not something the world should control. Your purpose is not something negativity should define. Today is not about pretending problems do not exist. It is not about ignoring reality or wearing a smile that hides your pain. It is about learning the difference between acknowledging life's challenges and allowing those challenges to become the voice that leads your life. Because once you master that difference, everything changes. Your confidence grows stronger. Your focus becomes sharper. Your dreams become louder than your doubts. So, if you are tired of carrying the weight of negativity, tired of giving your energy to people who never deserved it, and ready to build a mind that stands firm in every storm, then stay with me until the very end. What you are about to hear has the power to change not just the way you think, but the way you live forever. Negativity is not powerful because it exists. It becomes powerful only when you give it permission to stay. Every person, no matter how successful, talented, or confident, will face criticism, disappointment, failure, and rejection. These experiences are part of life. The difference between those who rise above challenges and those who remain trapped by them is not the amount of negativity they encounter. The difference is how they respond to it. Your response determines whether negativity becomes a temporary visitor or a permanent resident in your mind. Think about how often a single negative comment outweighs 10 positive ones. Someone can praise your hard work, admire your kindness, or appreciate your effort, but one harsh opinion suddenly becomes the only thing you remember. That is not because the negative comment is more important. It is because your mind has been trained to focus on threats instead of possibilities. The good news is that what has been trained one way can also be trained another way. You have the ability to decide which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones should be ignored. Every thought you entertain is like planting a seed. If you continue watering thoughts of fear, insecurity, and self-doubt, they will grow into habits that shape your actions. Eventually, those actions create your reality. On the other hand, when you choose to nourish thoughts of hope, determination, and confidence, you build a foundation that helps you move forward even when life becomes difficult. This is why guarding your mind is one of the greatest responsibilities you will ever have. Many people unknowingly surrender control of their emotions to others. A stranger's opinion ruins their day. A coworker's criticism destroys their confidence. A family member's doubt convinces them to abandon a dream. They allow other people to become the authors of their inner story, but no one has that authority unless you hand it to them. The opinions of others are simply words until you choose to believe them. They cannot define your worth unless you accept their definition as truth. Negativity often disguises itself as realism. It whispers that you are being practical when you stop dreaming. It convinces you that giving up is smarter than risking failure. It tells you to stay where it feels safe because disappointment hurts less than trying. Yet history is filled with people who succeeded precisely because they refused to accept those whispers. They understood that fear speaks loudly, but it does not always speak honestly. Your mind is like the entrance to your home. You would never leave your front door open for anyone to walk in and take whatever they wanted. Yet many people leave the doors of their minds completely unguarded. They allow endless complaints, endless comparisons, endless pessimism, and endless self-criticism to enter without question. Then they wonder why they feel exhausted, anxious, and unmotivated. What enters your mind repeatedly will eventually influence how you see yourself and the world around you. Choosing not to accept negativity does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that difficult moments do not have the final word. It means refusing to let one mistake define your future, one rejection erase your potential, or one failure convince you that success is impossible. Every setback carries a lesson, but it does not have to become your identity. Strong people are not those who never hear negative voices. They are the ones who hear them, examine them, and then decide whether those voices deserve a place in their thinking. Most of the time, they do not. They understand that every minute spent replaying destructive thoughts is a minute stolen from growth, creativity, and progress. Instead of feeding doubt, they feed discipline. Instead of repeating criticism, they repeat purpose. Instead of magnifying obstacles, they strengthen their vision until the obstacle becomes smaller than their determination. Your mind is the gatekeeper of your peace, and every single day it decides what is allowed to enter and what must remain outside. Peace is not something you stumble upon by accident, nor is it a reward that only a fortunate few receive. It is created through the choices you make about your thoughts. Every conversation you replay, every fear you entertain, every memory you refuse to release, and every opinion you allow to shape your identity passes through the gate of your mind first. If that gate remains unguarded, your peace slowly disappears, replaced by worry, anger, and endless mental noise. Many people believe that peace depends on perfect circumstances. They think they will finally feel calm when they have more money, a better career, healthier relationships, or fewer problems. But life has never promised perfect conditions. Challenges will continue to appear in different forms. If your peace depends entirely on circumstances, then your emotions will always rise and fall with every unexpected event. A delayed opportunity, an unfair comment, or a temporary failure will be enough to steal your confidence because your inner world is controlled by your outer world. The strongest people understand something different. They realize that while they cannot control every event, they can control what they allow those events to become inside their minds. A difficult situation may enter their life, but it does not have permission to destroy their hope. Criticism may reach their ears, but it does not automatically become their belief. Fear may knock on the door, but it does not have to stay. This is the power of becoming the gatekeeper of your own thoughts. Imagine your mind as a fortress with a single entrance. Every day, thousands of thoughts attempt to cross that entrance. Some thoughts bring courage, gratitude, patience, and determination. Others carry doubt, resentment, jealousy, and fear. If you welcome every thought without questioning its purpose, your inner world becomes crowded with confusion. Eventually, you begin reacting emotionally instead of thinking clearly. But when you carefully examine each thought before accepting it, you begin protecting your emotional strength in the same way a wise guardian protects something valuable. This process requires awareness. Negative thinking often becomes automatic because it has been practiced for years. The mind naturally repeats familiar patterns until new ones are intentionally created. Instead of immediately believing every fearful thought, pause and ask yourself whether it is true, whether it is helpful, and whether it deserves your energy. Many worries lose their power the moment they are questioned. Many fears fade once they are exposed to logic instead of emotion. Your environment also influences the thoughts that approach the gate of your mind. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the conversations you entertain, and even the words you repeatedly speak all shape your thinking. If your days are filled with constant complaints, endless comparison, and relentless negativity, your mind will struggle to protect its peace. But when you intentionally surround yourself with encouragement, wisdom, meaningful conversations, and uplifting ideas, your thoughts begin moving in a healthier direction. The gate becomes stronger because what stands behind it has become stronger. Peace does not mean the absence of conflict. It means the presence of stability even while conflict exists. It is the quiet confidence that refuses to panic when life becomes uncertain. It is the ability to remain focused when others lose hope. It is choosing clarity over chaos and purpose over distraction. This kind of peace is built one decision at a time. Every moment you reject unnecessary worry, every time you refuse to carry someone else's bitterness, and every occasion you choose gratitude instead of complaint, you strengthen the gate that protects your inner world. Your greatest responsibility is not controlling everyone around you. It is learning to govern your own thoughts with wisdom and discipline. Once your mind becomes a faithful guardian instead of an open doorway, you stop giving temporary problems permanent authority over your happiness, your confidence, and your direction. One of the greatest mistakes people make is giving too much attention to voices that were never meant to guide their lives. Every day, you hear opinions from friends, family, co-workers, strangers, and even from the quiet voice inside your own head. Some of those voices encourage you to become stronger, wiser, and more courageous. Others constantly remind you of your mistakes, magnify your weaknesses, and convince you that you are not capable of achieving anything meaningful. The danger is not that these negative voices exist. The real danger is when you continue feeding them with your attention, your emotions, and your belief until they become louder than your own purpose. Your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Whatever receives your attention grows stronger. If you focus on every criticism, every setback, and every fear, those things begin to dominate your thinking. They become the lens through which you see yourself and the world. A single failure starts looking like a lifetime of defeat. One rejection begins to feel like proof that you are unworthy. A temporary obstacle suddenly appears permanent. This happens because the mind naturally strengthens whatever it repeatedly rehearses. Imagine carrying a small spark in your hand. Left alone, it quickly fades away. But if you keep adding dry wood, fresh air, and fuel, that tiny spark becomes a blazing fire. Negative thoughts work the same way. A moment of doubt is only a spark. Replaying it over and over, talking about it constantly, and believing every fearful assumption is the fuel that turns it into something much bigger than it ever needed to become. The more energy you invest in destructive thinking, the harder it becomes to hear the voice of confidence and hope. Many people spend years arguing with people who have already forgotten the conversation. They replay painful memories, repeat hurtful words in their minds, and carry emotional burdens long after the moment has passed. In doing so, they unknowingly keep those experiences alive. Every replay gives the negativity another chance to shape their emotions. Every reminder strengthens the chains that hold them back. Freedom begins when you stop feeding yesterday's pain with today's attention. The same principle applies to self-doubt. Your inner critic often speaks with absolute certainty. It tells you that you are too late, too inexperienced, too ordinary, or too broken to succeed. But that voice is not always telling the truth. It is often repeating fears, insecurities, and past disappointments rather than facts. If you believe every word it says without questioning it, you slowly surrender your confidence. You begin making decisions based on fear instead of possibility, and eventually you stop trying altogether because failure feels inevitable before you even begin. Instead of feeding doubt, begin feeding discipline. Instead of repeating your limitations, remind yourself of your progress. Replace endless worry with purposeful action. Every time you learn a new skill, keep a promise to yourself or take one step toward your goal. Despite uncertainty, you weaken the voice that says you cannot succeed. Confidence is not built by waiting until fear disappears. It is built by acting while fear is still present and proving to yourself that fear does not have the final word. It is also important to be selective about the people you allow to influence your thinking. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Some people constantly criticize because they see the world through their own disappointments. Others discourage you because your growth reminds them of the dreams they abandoned. Their words may reflect their own fears more than your actual potential. Listening to every opinion is like allowing everyone to hold the steering wheel of your future. Eventually, you lose direction because too many hands are trying to decide where your life should go. Your dreams require nourishment just as much as your body does. Feed your mind with wisdom, gratitude, meaningful conversations, and uplifting ideas. Spend more time reading words that strengthen your character than listening to voices that weaken your courage. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to become better rather than convincing you to remain comfortable. Every positive habit you practice becomes another source of strength that slowly drowns out negativity until purpose becomes louder than fear. Determination becomes stronger than doubt, and your vision becomes impossible for discouragement to silence. Life will constantly present you with moments that invite an emotional reaction. Someone may criticize your work, misunderstand your intentions, ignore your efforts, or treat you unfairly. These situations can trigger frustration, anger, disappointment, or self-doubt almost instantly. While emotions are a natural part of being human, allowing them to control every decision often leads to regret. Growth begins when you learn to pause before reacting, giving wisdom the opportunity to speak louder than impulse. The strongest people are not those who never feel emotional. They are the ones who refuse to let temporary feelings determine permanent decisions. Emotional reactions are usually immediate because they are driven by instinct. When something hurts your pride or challenges your confidence, your first impulse may be to defend yourself, argue, quit, or seek revenge. These reactions may provide temporary relief, but they rarely solve the problem. More often, they create new problems that require even more energy to fix. A few careless words spoken in anger can damage years of trust. One impulsive decision made out of fear can delay dreams that took years to build. This is why emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings. It is about choosing your response instead of becoming a prisoner of your first reaction. Growth requires a different mindset. It asks you to see every challenge as an opportunity to become stronger rather than as proof that life is against you. When someone criticizes you, instead of immediately becoming defensive, ask yourself if there is a lesson hidden within the words. Not every criticism is accurate, but even unfair criticism can teach patience, resilience, and self-control. When you experience failure, instead of calling yourself incapable, study what went wrong and use that knowledge to improve. Every setback contains information that can make your next attempt wiser than the last. Many people remain trapped in the same patterns because they react the same way every time life becomes difficult. They blame others, complain about circumstances, or convince themselves that success belongs only to people with easier lives. Meanwhile, those who continue growing understand that responsibility is more powerful than excuses. They ask different questions. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can this experience teach me?" Instead of asking, "Who is at fault?" they asked, "How can I become better because of this?" Those simple changes in thinking create extraordinary differences over time. Every challenge gives you two choices. You can allow it to make you bitter, or you can allow it to make you better. Bitterness focuses on what has been lost. Growth focuses on what can still be gained. Bitterness keeps your attention fixed on the past. Growth directs your energy toward the future. The choice is rarely easy, but it is always available. Every day offers another opportunity to choose learning over resentment, discipline over impulse, and purpose over frustration. The people who achieve remarkable things are often those who have mastered this quiet discipline. They understand that emotional storms eventually pass, but the consequences of emotional decisions may remain for years. Instead of allowing every disappointment to knock them off course, they remain committed to their vision. They refuse to let one bad day define their identity or one difficult season erase years of progress. Their consistency becomes stronger than their emotions because they have learned that feelings change, but purpose endures. Growth also means becoming comfortable with discomfort. Improvement rarely feels easy. Learning a new skill, building healthy habits, forgiving someone who hurt you, or continuing after failure all require effort that stretches your character. There will be moments when giving up seems easier than continuing. There will be days when your emotions tell you to stop. But lasting transformation belongs to those who keep moving even when motivation fades. They understand that discipline carries them farther than emotion ever could. The more you practice choosing growth instead of emotional reaction, the more resilient your character becomes. Challenges lose their ability to shake your confidence because you no longer measure your life by temporary feelings. You measure it by the person you are becoming, by the wisdom you continue to gain, and by the quiet strength that grows every time you choose progress over impulse, learning over anger, and purpose over emotional comfort. A strong mind is the foundation of a strong life. Before success is visible in your actions, it is first developed in your thoughts. Every achievement, every breakthrough, and every meaningful transformation begins with the way you think. Your mind shapes your beliefs. Your beliefs influence your decisions, and your decisions create your future. If your thinking is weak, your actions will often reflect uncertainty and fear. But when your mind is disciplined, focused, and resilient, you become capable of facing challenges that once seemed impossible. Strength of mind does not mean you never experience fear, sadness, or disappointment. It means those emotions no longer control the direction of your life. A mentally strong person feels pain, but refuses to let pain become their identity. They experience failure, but they do not allow failure to define their future. They hear criticism, yet they remain committed to their purpose. Their confidence is not built on constant success, but on the knowledge that they can recover, adapt, and keep moving forward regardless of what happens. Many people spend their lives trying to change external circumstances while ignoring the condition of their inner world. They believe a better job, more money, greater recognition, or the approval of others will finally make them feel complete. While these things may improve certain aspects of life, they cannot replace inner strength. A person with an undisciplined mind can possess every material advantage, and still live with anxiety, insecurity, and dissatisfaction. On the other hand, someone with a strong mind can face hardship with dignity because their greatest source of stability comes from within. A strong mind is developed through daily choices rather than dramatic moments. It grows every time you keep a promise to yourself, even when no one is watching. It becomes stronger when you choose discipline over comfort, patience over frustration, and consistency over excuses. These small victories may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they shape your character. Just as a building becomes stable because of its foundation, your life becomes resilient because of the habits you practice every single day. Challenges play an important role in strengthening the mind. Just as muscles grow through resistance, mental resilience develops through adversity. Every obstacle presents an opportunity to become wiser, calmer, and more determined. Instead of asking why difficulties appear, mentally strong people ask how those difficulties can prepare them for greater responsibilities. They understand that comfort rarely produces growth. It is often the seasons of uncertainty, struggle, and perseverance that reveal strengths they never knew they possessed. Another characteristic of a strong mind is the ability to remain focused despite distractions. Modern life constantly competes for your attention. Endless opinions, comparisons, negative news, and unnecessary conflicts can easily consume your energy if you allow them. A disciplined mind learns to separate what truly matters from what only creates noise. It refuses to waste valuable time worrying about things beyond its control. Instead, it directs attention toward meaningful goals, productive habits, and positive relationships that contribute to lasting fulfillment. A strong life is also built on emotional stability. This does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means understanding your emotions without allowing them to dominate your choices. When circumstances change, your values remain steady. When people disappoint you, your integrity remains intact. When success arrives, humility keeps you grounded. And when failure appears, resilience keeps you moving. Emotional balance allows you to navigate both victories and setbacks with wisdom rather than impulsiveness. The quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your thinking. Every dream you pursue, every relationship you build, every challenge you overcome, and every opportunity you create is influenced by the condition of your mind. Strength begins long before the world notices your achievements. It begins in quiet moments when you choose hope instead of fear, responsibility instead of blame, courage instead of comfort, and purpose instead of distraction. Those choices shape your character day after day until the life you build becomes a reflection of the strength you first created within your own mind